2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Perfect. Good evening, Panther Nation. This is your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, the longest running Panthers podcast on the interwebs. It's live. It's Tuesday night, 9 p.m., where we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. And when I say the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective, I don't mean anything new this week because there is absolutely nothing to talk about. I had to go into the archives to see what we were talking about on this show over the last 5 years to get some ideas. Tonight's show is, can we get a Falcons arrest to jumpstart the news cycle? This is the time of the year where you don't want to hear anything about your team. Yeah. Because they're either in trouble or getting hurt. And we don't need none of that. So it's good that it's a quiet week. But we'll have some fun things to talk about. We got look who just popped into the show. The man, the myth, the legend, my co-host, Cody Lashney. How you doing?
Tony Dunn. I apologize for being late, but as always, there's nowhere I'd rather be on a Tuesday night than here talking about the Carolina Panthers with my favorite YouTube Panther partners and the most lit Panther fans in all of YouTube. And you already know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Joey the Blind Panther Esquivel, Craig Carter, Tim Estes, AJ Lindsay, and our good friend, you know him, you love him, Tim Tizzy. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
CK in the house. How are you, my man?
Oh, just hanging out, just living life, just waiting for life to get just like back to some sense of normalcy. We're almost there. Like we're just all holding our breath, waiting for it, and I'm just waiting for it now.
I know. I mean, like I feel like I am there in a certain way. It's getting close. Close.
That's what I mean. Yeah, just kind of like holding your breath a little bit because it's always like when you're getting ready to finish a project, that last leg is always the hardest. I'm sure, sort of like with your fence.
Yeah. Right when things are getting back to normal, the NCAA makes NC State forfeit. Did you guys hear about the baseball game?
No.
The College World Series. They're going to the College World Series. I think it was the semifinals. The NC State was not one of the top ranked teams. They just got so hot at the end of the season. I hate NC State. I'm an ECU guy. They're right down the road from us. ECU's eliminated by Vanderbilt in the series before. NC State goes up on Vanderbilt 2-0. And then there's a COVID report on the team. They had that play. They only needed to win one more game to win the series and move on to the next round. And like the hero story. they made them play. They only played with 13 men last Thursday or whatever. Like, so they had 3 active pitchers. One of their starting pitchers all season long played first base and went 3 for 3, but it was awesome. But they lost that game, and then the next day they had they're supposed to play. They get one more chance to win. And they said the NCAA said they had to forfeit because a 2-minute, they hit the moment where COVID, it was too much, I guess. I don't know. It was too big of a percentage of the roster, whatever it was. And it was contact traces, all these testing. But right when you think you haven't heard about it, right, for a while, then something like that happened. So that's what made me think about that. Tonight's show, guys, we're gonna go into the archives of C3 since there has been no news. I asked the question, what the hell were we talking about last year? In this same exact week, I went and looked at the last week of June, and I went all the way back to 2015. We'll see the story. I want to know, I saw Cody in one of his first appearances on the show, a young buck coming in. Mel Mayock was still on the show. Joey was there that night. You were with me in June of, I think I wrote 2018. 2018 is going back that far. You were on the show. So I
was probably 2 months into being on the show on a consistent basis.
Right. I mean, yeah, that had to have been one of the earliest points. You looked like a baby. We all looked young.
Have I aged that much in 2 years? Oh shit, that might be fucked, man.
No, but no, actually, everything, the quality of every camera has just increased 9 million fold.
Dude, I remember being
CK's always making fun of us about how crappy it is right now. You should have seen it in 2015.
I went back and I watched some of the original, when you had your little headset, your gaming headset that you were using, to actually talk, and you could just it was just it's a very different world now, I'll tell you.
Oh, by the way, can I note that me and Tony right now are rocking the same hairstyle? Both got the slick back ponytail. Yeah, man.
A pony. Yeah. It's a ponytail.
I have the opposite. I have hair growing everywhere but there.
Hey, you know what? You make it look damn good, brother. Rock that shit. But and also I don't know if you saw, either of you saw this in the Twitter. I know we didn't really get a chance to pregame the show tonight, but I shared that there's a 20-question survey done by Joe Person in The Athletic, and it has a lot of really good questions. And I felt like maybe at some point in time that could be a fun thing to jump into.
I think that needs to be the show. I think that's what we're going to make that the first part of the show. I saw it. I said, let's do it. And you know what? Right when we get powered up. Yeah. Yes, please go ahead and put it up. Just go ahead and give a shout out to Avolta if you want to own your own energy and you're a homeowner in North or South Carolina. With no money down, you could add equity to your home by going solar. On top of adding equity, you get to take advantage of all these tax credits. And my man, Kevin Brown, solar consultant for Avolta, Carolina Panthers fan, will take care of you if you mention the C3 Panthers podcast and say, look, I'm a Panthers fan. I heard about Avolta. I want to own my own energy and seek energy independence in this world. You tell Kevin Brown that at 704-215-3373. He'll take care of you. That's 704-215-3373. All right, go ahead and put this. Let's see what this is. Is that you would not believe how the dearth of football news that is out there right now, guys. I'm so glad. Thank you for doing this Google form,
right?
Joe Person,
right?
Cutting edge. No, this is the stuff that I would do. This is we should do things like this. All right, so lead us off, Cody.
I'll say this: when the biggest news to happen to the Carolina Panthers is that the guy who won the Super Bowl with the Broncos when we were playing them in 2015 retired, Demaryius Thomas. then that's the extent of the Panthers news. Like a guy who played against us in the Super Bowl retired.
So he was in that Super Bowl game.
I'm pretty sure he was in that game.
Their offense was atrocious then. So think about this: it's been a long time since. I mean, and Demaryius Thomas was a badass wide receiver for like a 4-year stretch. But that's like a million years ago now.
Right.
Yeah, it feels like you're right. That is the top storyline is Demaryius Thomas retiring, and people are like, "Man, I thought that happened 2 years ago."
Oh man, I remember when he left the Broncos and he went to the Saints. I remember me arguing with a buddy of mine. He was like, "Oh, Demaryius Thomas could have done so much for this team." I'm like, "He's on the back end of his career, bro. He benefited from having a fantastic quarterback as Peyton Manning." But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
So tell us The Athletic, which I'm a subscriber to The Athletic. I should actually, we should have put a link up because if you get somebody to subscribe with your name, they give you like $5 off next year. Anyway, not getting that $5 here, but we're giving a shout out to The Athletic and Joe Person. Thank you for giving us something to talk about. Tell us what we're talking about, Cody.
Yeah, and I want everyone in the chat room to participate in this along with us. What I figured we would do is go through each and every one of these 20 questions. It's a 20-question survey, and just kind of take the temperature of what we think of this football team right now. I know a lot of people are hopeful about Sam Darnold. Some people not so much. Some people think our offensive line is going to suck again. Some people are kind of optimistic. And I think that at a time when there's no news, this just kind of represents a good temperature check. So I'm going to ask these questions to both of you and everyone in the chat room. Let us know what you're thinking, and we'll kind of go forward and kind of put in our answers and just kind of see what. I don't know what happens when you click the answers yet, so I don't know if it'll tell you like what most people have clicked on or not. But nonetheless, I think it'll just be fun for us to kind of go through. And I think the first question is kind of almost best saved for last, but they decided to lead with it. And that's, how many games will the Panthers win in 2021? We have less than 6, 6 or 7, 8 or 9, 10 or 11, or 12 or more.
Let's see what the chat room has to say about this, because this is tough because everybody's going to chime in. Like the most common is going to be 10 or 11 or 8 or 9, right? Because this is a Panther fan show, right? The pessimistic ones of the bunch are going 8 or 9. The optimistic ones are going 10 or 11. 6 or 7, we're questioning you if you're a fan type thing. I'm going 8 or 9.
How about this? If you're in the chat room and you say above, or if you say below 8 or 9, tell us a little bit why you think so. Or just in general, no matter what, give us a little brief synopsis on why you think so, while we kind of bounce this amongst each other. And
look
then
at this. Nova Black saying 10 plus. We got 12.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at
10
that.
Tizzy coming in there, 17-0. This is exactly how you guys should be thinking.
By the
8
way,
or
our
9
man
for
G.
me.
Cavassier right here in the chat room too. What's up, G? Shout out to you. My brother Vince says 7 would be impressive. Shane Welch says 8 or 9. And then again, C3 legend Nova Black says 10 plus. And of course, 10 Tizzy, ever the Panther fan.
Panthers fan FSU about to come in here and do the same thing. He's gonna be like 17, like we're gonna be 19-0. We're gonna be 19-0. We're gonna get that Super Bowl ring this year.
All right, so CK, what say you, man? I mean, again, things can change. By the way, also to update some news from last Tuesday, I found out that we're going to be doing joint practices with the Indianapolis Colts and the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. The Ravens are coming to Charlotte, and the Panthers are going to Indy. So we get to be the road team and the home team a little bit.
Yeah.
But, CK, things can change. But right now, based on what we've done in the offseason, based on our draft, what's the temperature, man? How you feeling?
I mean, I don't think I think we have a pretty middle of the pack schedule. Like our schedule isn't overwhelming. I think we have a lot of question marks. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to be a repeat of what they were last year. Even though they kept their team exactly the same, guess who else kept their team almost identical to what it was the year before? The Panthers in 2016, and that didn't go so well. I think you're going to start to see some slide back on that. So, I think it's just because of the 17 game season. I'd say the 10 or 11 is actually probably a good number to go with, because it's not, honestly, that's basically the 9 and 7 of last year.
Okay, that's a good answer, and I think I kind of agree with you too about Tampa Bay maybe taking a step back. Tony,
what are you gonna have to win to be in the playoffs this year? Is that like you saw 11-5 teams in the AFC last year not make it?
I'd say probably 11-6, 12-5. Because remember, this year it's another game. We're getting an extra game, so I think that's probably Sideshow Bob says.
Yeah, I think 10. You're
7.
I think 10 and 7, and you're kind of like wild card hoping right there.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I just don't know what to think about from our division, honestly. I think 10 and 7 for a lot of other divisions, sure. I don't know that I see a team in New Orleans that's going to challenge for the NFC South division title this year without Drew Brees leading the pack. They may have Sean Payton, but they do not have a guy who is as cerebral as Drew Brees was. I don't care what you say, no matter who learns behind Drew Brees knew more about the game than any of their options on the field right now. And then you look at over at Atlanta, where they lost their star wide receiver in Julio Jones and gained a guy who might be able to replace him, and Kyle Pitts. So I don't know really what to expect from them. I think they're still not necessarily on the upward swing there in Atlanta. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like I said, I think they're the team to beat, but I don't believe they're going to be as powerful as they were last year.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think with all of the unknowns about the Carolina Panthers at this point, other than Tampa Bay returning seemingly everyone, the division outside of Tampa, it really seems like kind of anyone's division. It does seem like any one of these teams could end up competing even for a wild card even. Tell me if this makes sense to either of you and to anyone in the chat room who might disagree. Tell me if you think I'm off base with this. I don't want to be anywhere near 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. I either want 10 wins or more, or I want 6 or less. I don't want to do, and I feel like I've been consistent over the years on this. I'm done being a middle of the pack fucking football team. I either want the premium draft pick, or I want us to be a playoff contender. And I really do think right now, as funny as it is, the Panthers could kind of be either or. I feel like the answer is more likely to be 10 or 11 or less than 6 than we are a middle of the pack football team. I think the Carolina Panthers 2021 team is a bang bust football team. It's either all going to come together in a perfect storm, and all these things are going to come together, like Joe Brady, Terrace Marshall, Shi Smith, Sam Darnold finally turns the next page and actually becomes a franchise quarterback, or all the problems that we all kind of foresee plaguing us are going to come up and really be a real issue. If this offensive line hasn't taken a legitimate step forward, that's going to be a problem. If our defense can't protect against deep passes in the NFC South, where we have Calvin Ridley, Michael Thomas, now we have Kyle Pitts in the division, there's some really big question marks. And I think if things go well for us, they're going to go super well. Not just kind of well. I think we have the potential to be a dominant football team. If not, I think we're going to be a bottom of the barrel football team, and we're going to be talking about trying to upgrade the quarterback position again.
Poor Cody. Poor Cody is going to be so disappointed when we just hit a decent shot down the fairway with Sam Darnold
with with still a young defense.
Don't do it.
Question, dude. This team does not have the depth. The only way this is going to work out, they got too much talent, too much youthful talent to just lose out. You know what I'm saying? The kids are playing hard. They're going to make some plays and some different things like that. We're one of the youngest teams in the league. But we don't have the depth or even the presence of mind to really to be anything like, I won't say to be anything fantastic, but I don't even know if we have the cogs to if we had a couple of veterans that could rally these young kids and put them in some good positions. We don't even have any of those. So this is a 5 or 6 win team in the last season, with the 16 games, and now we're 7 or 8, 9. And if it's better than that, it's not going to be but so much better than that. And if it's worse than that, it's not going to be but so much worse than that.
Let me ask
they will be better than last year's Jets, no problem. And they will be equivalent to last year's team, I would say is fair.
You remember how in 2015 we brought in Jared Allen when it was Charles Johnson went down, got hurt, and we kind of brought in some veterans once we kind of saw, whoa, this team that no one expected to be atop the NFC has all of a sudden come out of nowhere. Cam Newton playing the best football that he's ever played. Greg Olsen was absolutely incredible. It's if it's possible that all things start to fire on all cylinders, like I'm kind of saying they might, I wonder if we see Scott Fitterer say, you know what, I kind of need to take some cues from the past and see what free agent guys are still out there. Because believe it or not, right now, the Panthers do still have some free agent dollars to spend. So I think
I don't think we have any pillars that are guaranteed other than right now we want to see Brian Burns become that. But he still is going to have to take a step forward, not step forward, but he's got to just do it again, right? If he replicates what he did last year and that kind of pace and things like that, then he's going to become that type of leader. On the offensive side of the ball, I guess you're going to have to say it's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And that's it. He wasn't even with the team last year, hardly. What do you, I mean, DJ Moore is 22 years old. And you're going to call him the old hat of the bunch?
Yeah.
We don't have a Greg Olsen. Yeah. We don't have a Thomas Davis. We don't have a Luke Kuechly. And actually, in the 2016 show from the last week of June, a lot of talk about how the presence of those veterans like Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis helped the younger kids of Trey Boston, Ben Wickery that year succeed and be in positions of success. So that's why I don't think we're going to be I hope we're great. I hope it is something special. But do we really have a lot that indicates that it's going to be really, really bad or really, really good? It's going to be screw with Cody and get him an 8th. We're going to get the 8th pick in the draft.
Nope. Listen, I am a conscious creator. I do not claim that reality. That is not the present that I am bringing into my now moment, Tony Dunn. You can't tell me different. I think this football team is going to bang or bust, and that's my official prediction. It's going to be
Let's go to the next question.
It's going to be a big time season, or we're going to be fucking depressed as hell. So I'm going to go ahead and just click one of these just for the sake of seeing what happens. What do you want to say?
They want 10 or 11. Okay. Let's do 12 or more. Come on. Let's just do 12 or more.
12 or more. All right, we'll go 12 or more. All right, this is a good one. And this has specific answers too. Yep. What needs to happen for this season to be considered a success? Win more games than last year's 5, finish with a winning record, make the playoffs, advance to the divisional round. Now, this is an interesting question because it's like a measure of what you think success is. And I kind of already answered this just now, but what say you to the chat room and to Tony and CK? What is your indicator of success? Win more than 5, just have a winning record, make the playoffs, or advance to the divisional round?
I
Tony,
say winning record.
We'll jump to you first,
yeah, which
Tony.
is that's a 9. You got to win 9 then, right?
Yeah, but yeah. I mean,
9
here's the
would
thing.
would be a winning record.
Yeah. Because you would be 9 and I mean you could be 9 and 8.
So that's a successful season to you, Tony? A 9-win season?
No, Cody. I believe that it's a success because when's the last time we had a winning season?
Well,
2017. It's almost a half a decade since we've had a winning season.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of that in the chat too. Craig Carter said that.
Can I pick a measurement of success that isn't up here?
Sure.
Sam Darnold works.
But what does that mean? Tell me what that means. Be more specific. What does that mean?
I think.
What does work?
Well, one is that we see some of the fears of his like being broken been alleviated. Right? Is that
okay.
Like, I mean, I want to see that the yips aren't, you don't have the yips in the head.
Some progression.
Right? Is that like, if I want him to be one of the better aspects of our team, despite what we are, we could be, say we're 11-5 or 11-6, right? And we went 11-6 and we did it just by holding everybody to 10 points. And Sam Darnold just hands the ball off to Christian McCaffrey and he runs for 2 billion yards. And somehow we get 11 wins out of that. I'm going to say boo to that because Sam Darnold turned out to not be a positive reason towards that success. Right. On the other hand, if we finish with 5 wins, and it's because our defense gives up 40 points a game. There's like a lot of injuries, and then Sam Darnold is kind of heroic in the actual games we did play. Then I would say, hey, he's part of the solution, not the problem.
Right.
So if Sam Darnold is part of the solution, not the problem. That's a work for me. That's my measurement of success this year. Because if it's not, if he's part of the problem,
we're back to square one.
Solution. We're back to what you're talking about. We're talking about this, and now we're gonna have to talk about the draft picks. We're gonna have to talk about why we didn't get Justin Fields. We're gonna have to look to be like, oh well, Cam's either doing great or bad. Like we're gonna have to have that same damn conversation. So that is my measurement of success.
Certainly, I can 100%. Respect that mindset as well because it's exhausting not having a good quarterback. Like it is.
Oh yeah, and then we'll have to look at Teddy Bridgewater too. We'll have to be like, oh God, what?
Having these what terrible quarterback? What's your case?
Oh yeah,
saying? Like,
it is. I know it sucks.
It sucks.
It's a blessing to have that. I mean, you don't know it. It's like your health. You don't know how important it is till you don't got it, right?
Yeah.
You don't appreciate it.
You take advantage of it until it's not there anymore. Yeah.
And again, I wear my Panther fandom on my sleeve. I don't make any any misnomers about when I started my Panther fandom. Cam Newton brought me to the Panthers and is what made me re-fall in love with football. So, I don't remember the Jimmy Clausen days when we didn't have I followed football. I knew of him. I knew what was going on, but I didn't love football then like I do now. So not having Cam Newton these past few years, it's been like a weird purgatory, man. Like not having a quarterback that you believe in. It's foreign territory to me, and no one can call me a damn bandwagon fan either because my cripple ass isn't going anywhere. I love my Panthers, and we just got to see this through, and we're all hoping that Sam Darnold is the man.
Can we just fill this whole form out and put the most optimistic answer in for everyone?
Yeah, advance to the divisional round. But okay, I didn't give my answer though. I'll make it quick. I say. And I think you already kind of get this. My answer is make the playoffs. Like if we're not in the playoffs, then that means we're not a contender. We're another middle of the pack football team that's picking in the middle of the draft and has to depend on another damn good free agency and a bunch of other things to go correct. And I'm tired of that. I don't want middle of the road. I think even if we have a winning record, like, yeah, it's better than what we know, or what we know recently, but we're striving to be a perennial contender. Like, we have to have high beliefs and high hopes, for lack of a better term. So no, just winning and not doing anything with it. And I think also if we have an even record, a 500 record, kind of what you were talking about, Tony, that kind of indicates to me that Sam Darnold didn't pan out to be the kind of player that we thought he was going to be. So that's why, to me, even a winning season, that's not successful, because that doesn't answer the big question of, did the Panthers fix their quarterback position? Because it probably says that we didn't.
Let's make the playoffs.
Let's do it.
And I think that, though, like what I would put in parentheses, if we could make a comment on that, is just say, or be on the playoff bubble discussion, right? Because if you're 11-6 and you don't make the playoffs, we're going to be pretty happy still. We'll measure that as a success, right? If you have, like, and you just Tampa just won 17 games, and you just
that's probably the one exception, huh?
Right. That's the only one.
If a damn good record like that still isn't enough to put you over, then yeah, that sucks. But
because on the other hand, you don't want to say is making the playoffs is all could be misleading too, because we've done it. We did in 2014 with a losing record. The Redskins did it last year. So in that that's kind of a bizarre example of making the playoffs not actually being a sign of success. All right, what's next?
I kind of filled this in, but I don't know who would answer longer than this. How long before the Panthers get back to the Super Bowl? 3 years or less? 4 to 5? 6 to 10 years? 11 to 20? Not in my lifetime. What kind of Panther fan doesn't think that they're going to hope to see a Super Bowl in their lifetime? Like, God, what kind
of from Cleveland?
Yeah, what kind of depressing asshole?
From, I mean.
Dude, what did Richard Pryor tell Chris Rock to tell Bill Cosby? Have a Coke and a smile and shut the fuck up. If you don't believe the Panthers are going to have a Super Bowl in your lifetime, you need to find another pastime, bro.
Or a new team.
Yeah, or a brand new team.
Yeah, just go ahead and jump the wagon, dude. Because I mean, what else are you going to be thriving for to see your team making that move to making that move to hopefully get that Super Bowl? That's what we all are Panthers fans for. Is we're waiting for that moment. Like, that is it. And but yeah, if I can go first, I'll answer this. I think it's a 6 to 10 year.
Ooh. Oh God!
Really, 6 to 10 years before the Panthers get it.
All right. I have a question about this question that's related.
I'll tell you why here in a minute.
Question. So we're talking about my measurement of success, and we're talking about making the playoffs a success. If we answer 3 years or less, we kind of have to agree. The odds are that Sam Darnold worked. Matt Rule and his staff took fire, and these young bucks turned into big studs in the next 2, right? JC Horn's like defensive player of the year type shit. Right. If we answer 4 to 5, we believe that a lot of those young players are going to succeed and turn into studs again. JC Horn in 4 or 5 years being player of the year. So like defensive player of the year. Derek Brown maybe signing with the team and still being good, whatever it is. But if we answer 6 to 10 years here, we're talking new coach. We're talking, or I would say, I would guess it would be a new coach. And I would say we'd be 2 to 3 quarterbacks down the road by that point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 3 years or less, me personally, because I got to wish this Sam Darnold mess into existence, even though I understand the people who believe it's not going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why it shouldn't happen.
And chat room, let me see those predictions too. In the
my
chat.
real answer, though, in theory, is I think 4 to 5 just means it would be a different quarterback. But all right, CK, tell us why you say 6 to 10.
I mean, there's a
feels
bit
like a prison sentence, bro.
Yeah,
I feel like he just condemned us, like he's the judge that just said you guys got 6 to 10, homie. I don't know yet. You better be on your best behavior. It'd be 10 if I don't like the way you're looking at me.
Well, I'm interested in hearing your reasoning.
I feel like there's a couple of moving parts to this. I think one of them is going to be being able to draw free agents in that are actually of good quality. That and I don't know that Sam Darnold is going to be the guy that is going to draw that type of attention. But also, once we get this practice facility and this like new headquarters in place, I think that's going to be a draw for free agents. And that's not happening to get us to the Super Bowl in the next 3 years. And so I think that there's a couple of moving parts to it. I don't necessarily think that it has more to do with Rule than anything. I think Rule could very well still be the coach. Right now, like I'm a statistical person, and if you think about 2 teams make the Super Bowl every year, that means, do you believe the Panthers are going to make the Super Bowl this year?
Right. Well, you should probably say 11 to 20. Well, you're right. No, I don't think that.
Well, so we can kind of tie the next question into this, because the next question is, what is your confidence level in Matt Rule? And I kind of feel like if CK is right, if it's 6 to 10 years before we get to another Super Bowl, in order for Matt Rule to still be the coach at that time, he has to have at least one or two
NFC
seasons,
championship appearance or something.
Well, at least where they look like and demonstrate to be competitive contenders in the playoffs or even deep in the playoffs.
Right.
Because if it's 6 to 10 years later, that means what? Matt Rule is probably on contract number 2, and he was already signed to a 7-year deal. So I think that's kind of what blends into our next question. What is your confidence level in Matt Rule? Very confident he'll eventually get this franchise back to the Super Bowl. Confident, I expect the team to be much better in his second season. Somewhat confident, still wondering if he's a better fit at the college level. Or not confident, David Tepper needs to start looking for his next coach. This is an interesting one. And again, I'll just kind of let whoever wants to jump on it first jump in.
My answer is B. I'm confident.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm optimistically confident. I expect the team to be much better in his second season. I thought that he was again not at the top of the reasons for our problems last year. I thought he was part of the solution last year, not part of the problem. And I think Joe Brady in a second year as offensive coordinator, I think them getting more time to work with the players. I think them, and like anyone, I would say this, is they demonstrated competency to me last year. And now, after they've gotten their feet wet, they've gotten some experience, I expect them to take a step forward, right? Not to regress. And so actually the pressure is kind of is mounting more on him now than it was last year, because if we are getting back to normalcy a little bit, we want to see what the normal look for Matt Rule is going to be, and we want to see it better to better each year.
All right. So here's I want to make this point. Are you confident in Matt Rule? Are you confident in what we have? Because of as far as an entire coaching staff, one of the reasons I'm saying 6 to 10 years on this, on that first question, on the question previously, is I think we all would agree this year we all are confident that the team is going to be better. We're probably going to perform better than we did last year. And Sam Darnold isn't going to be, seen as a crap, quarterback. I think Joe Brady is going to be able to build an offense that makes him look like he's a better quarterback, even if he isn't. Right? Would we all agree on that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's outlandish. Yeah.
So that means Joe Brady will not be here next year.
Yeah, again, this is tough to me, man, because like so much of it is dependent. Like if even if we're a better football team,
Yeah.
I still don't know if, now all of a sudden a 32-year-old Brady who marginally turns around Sam Darnold is the hot coach that he once was with LSU. That's why I go back to saying this is a boom or bust team. Like I almost see it as impossible for this team to be middle of the road. Like there's so much young talent. There's so much potential in our coaching ranks that it's either this is going to be big or it's going to flame out. And I think confident is probably the most logical answer. Because if you say very confident, you're depending on something that you haven't seen yet to be there. Like what would make you so confident to say that, yeah, he's definitely going to get us to a Super Bowl? Right now, there's still too much proving to be done. Like there's still
you can't mark A without just saying we just are blind, rose-colored glasses.
Like it would be different if we were almost or even a playoff team last year in Matt Rule's first year. Then we'd be like, okay, this dude's clearly fucking got something going on. But that not being the case, I just think that it's, unless maybe you want to say somewhat confident, because again, which leads into the next question about Sam
I'm okay
Darnold.
with somewhat confident. The only reason I did not answer that is the back end of the sentence, which is because I don't need to, at this point, it's not his college, if he's a better fit or college or not. I just need to see if he's good or not. Is that yes, he's had 2 or 3 winning seasons in college, but that doesn't mean that he's like going to go back into like if he fails in the NFL, they're just going to all of a sudden hit the ground running. I would say somewhat confident because of what I saw last year, but there's still, like you said, so much to be proven. That's why I said confident, because it wasn't a shit show. It wasn't a shit show. So no, I like that.
It really wasn't. Let's move on here because we still got a bunch of good questions that are relevant to everything that we're talking about. What will Sam Darnold be in Carolina? This is the talk of the Panthers offseason, isn't it? Franchise quarterback. He's going to experience a renaissance now that he's out of New York. Dependable starter, can be a playoff quarterback in Joe Brady's system, but not a Super Bowl QB. Journeyman, feels like Teddy Bridgewater all over again, or backup quarterback. The NFL's lowest rated passer in 2020 should be a clipboard holder. Now, I won't take long on this. I'll kind of answer first. I feel like any one of these could still be true. Like
yes, there's no evidence to suggest that any one of these could be false.
Right.
I feel franchise quarterback isn't outlandish because so many people feel like, man, if he finally puts together all the talented things that we know Sam can do, there's no reason why he couldn't be a franchise quarterback. That's why he was drafted number 3 overall and was being talked about as the number 1 pick. But then on the other hand, like these next 2 also feel like if you're in any way even a little bit optimistic, you believe that both of these are possible, that even if he doesn't turn into be a dependable starter, he has to be at least capable of doing whatever the fuck it was that Bridgewater was doing last year.
Right.
And then for the backup thing, if you just look at what Sam Darnold has accomplished thus far in his NFL career, why wouldn't you think that that's the resume of a backup quarterback?
Exactly.
100%. So all of these could be true. It's basically a question of how much are you an optimist of what Sam Darnold can be in Carolina.
Cody, which one is the most outlandish, though?
I think
like what are the least odds are on which one? Like if you're going to put the odds on this, which would be the longest odds?
The longest odds, I think, is a backup quarterback. And that's only because now the amount of upgrades that Sam has, from the coaches to the weapons to the fans to the environment, it's such a steep upgrade that, in my opinion, he would have to be pretty bad if he was only ever able to be a backup quarterback after having all that talent around him.
What are the next longest odds out of the 4?
Probably a franchise quarterback, right?
Guess what this means? 8 or 9 wins.
That's
what this means. 8 or 9 wins.
Damn you, man.
He said,
I'm thinking. I right now, I'm gonna put journeyman is my vote for this question.
Really? Okay.
I don't want it to be, but I'm just kind of now. I'm trying to get the question right rather than what I want it to. I don't know. What are we trying to get the question right? What we think?
Dude, I feel this is all probably just how you feel.
Journeyman for me.
CK, what say you?
I think he's going to be a dependable starter.
All right. And that's probably what I would say.
8 and 9. 8 and 9. We're at 9 and 8.
No. Dependable starter is Tannehill.
How about this? And I love this. And yeah, I'm so glad Demetrius Miller said this too. If Darnold is Tannehill, I'm going to be happy. And honestly, if that's what we're able to get, if Sam Darnold is able to make a Tannehill kind of leap, in my mind, that would say to me that he's a dependable starter. Now, I don't like that last bit of the sentence, but not a Super Bowl quarterback, because I think we've seen much lesser quarterbacks than Ryan Tannehill win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I think that last line is a little bit
but
off,
Alex Smith, that kind of puts that means like the Alex Smith conversation, the Ryan Tannehill conversation.
Eli Manning, he won 2 Super Bowls, but he's never blown the doors off of.
When he was young, he was a lot better. Like he came into some good teams. Yeah, he wasn't as awful. He got so bad at the end.
You can also put this into, not to again go back to this season, but in the year that the Broncos won the Super Bowl, Peyton Manning was the dependable starter, if not a journeyman type of a quarterback. If he would have continued to play after that, he would not have been a franchise Q. Nobody would have put him in that category if there were only 4 categories to put him in at that point. They still won with him not losing the game for his squad.
Yeah.
Right.
Josh Hoare says Darnold, even if he pans out, won't be the reason we win the Super Bowl. And I think that's
you
true.
Could probably say that too about the Tennessee Titans if they win this year.
Yeah, exactly.
You would be like, oh, it's like Derrick Henry or Julio. They added Julio. I like Tennessee. There's 2 teams. Buffalo did it last year. Is if you see that your team is legit, needing a step, I don't mind the team taking the risk in the moment. Don't be the 2015 Panthers. Next, how long before Joe Brady is a head coach?
We already talked about this a little bit. CK kind of touched on it. 1 year, the latest offensive wonderkind we've been going after the season. 2 or 3 is coming, but he needs to improvise in red zone and 2-minute situations, or it's not happening. Some guys are better suited as offensive play callers.
I think nobody is going to answer that last one, right? Like at least at this point in time, there is no
if you take the back end of that sentence off, every time it's the second sentence, because it's not happening, could actually be a legitimate thing.
I feel like Joe Person I feel like he's trying to set us up. I think he's setting us up to have to be able to have an article. Panthers fan believe that Joe Brady will never be an offensive coordinator or a head coach.
Better suited to be an offensive play caller. No,
right, exactly.
Or that everybody is like Panther fans think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Joe Brady's going to be the next greatest coach, and Matt Rule is, Vince Lombardi. I don't know. I guess I'm going to say I think it's. I'm going to say that there's A, B, and C, but there should be a D. I think it should be 3 to 7 years, 4 to 7 years.
True. Look at Eric Bieniemy. Still, he's been talked about for a long time. Still hadn't gotten it. Yeah, I think 2 or 3 is the sensible answers. Again, and this is just going on. Me and Joe Brady are the same age, man. We're both 31 years old. That's a baby in terms of.
If he waited 7 more years, he would still be very young.
He'd still be very
10 more years, he would be still very young for a head coach.
15 years, he would be relatively young. It's you know what I mean?
Yes.
He would. Yeah. So that's why I think
it's not happening then.
In my mind, 2 to 3 years is the out of these answers, 2 to 3 is the only logical answer of the two. You can't necessarily say it's guaranteed to blow up after this year, and you can't say that it's not happening either. So, moving on, what grade would you give the Panthers offseason, free agency, and draft? It goes A, B, C, D, and F. This is interesting. So, I'll go first. I just think, I was going to say B also, just because I think that this, like, we did a lot of trading back. So even though outside of J.C. Horn, we might not have one wowzer draft pick, we might not have one wowzer free agent pick, but they're all players that you could see turning out to be real producers on this football team, like real role players, where they may not be the core of the football team, but if they're out, then it's like it makes a real difference that they're gone. So, for example, Hassan Reddick, I think it is the type of signing that you're like, man, you want that guy on the field, And I think a lot of that's true for our draft. J.C. Horn is a much-needed corner for Carolina, but a lot of the guys were traded down for, and guys that were passed up on by other football teams, and frankly, guys that we still have a lot of questions on. We don't know if Brady Christensen is going to be a legitimate offensive lineman for us. We don't know if Daquan Jones is going to be a starting defensive lineman. There's just a lot of questions. I think B is reasonable because I think it's better than average, but it's not like a premier free agent draft class like, say, maybe Tampa Bay had.
What would have taken it to an A for you?
If I felt like we came away with the surefire starting left tackle and a surefire starting corner, and I feel like
if we would have gotten Deshaun Watson before the shit turned out.
Well, even then, like that might have been a B if we got a talented player, but lost a ton of other players and picks for Deshaun. You know what I mean? That's kind of, I might average out.
If we still came into this season with no starting corner or no starting left tackle, because we gave away every pick we had this year for Deshaun Watson. We don't
even have a starting left tackle now.
But we have a potential starting left tackle is the thing.
Ooh,
like
that's terrifying.
Yeah, like we have any of the left tackles you have on the team right now are potential starting left tackles, right? But like you can talk about Christensen and you can talk about these guys, but the reason that I say that is if you look at it from the perspective of what Cody's saying is like you trade for a really good quarterback, but you're still in the exact same position everywhere else. Are you really in a better spot? I think right now we took a very balanced approach as we move forward here. Like, and that I do like that. I don't know that we could have even possibly gotten a better, an A. I think there are certain circumstances that exist that makes it next to impossible to actually get an A. Unless some miracle stuff happened, then, I really don't know what we could have done differently to make it an A.
I don't know. If we could have gotten another offensive lineman earlier, it would have been a B+. You're right. An A would have been us nailing the left tackle in the top 8 of the draft. Like we would have gotten the guy that went to Detroit or whatever. But it's a B for me, and the reason it's a B, and the optimistic side is Hassan Reddick. The Hassan Reddick is a 1-year ball-out young player who might even be on the team beyond 1 year.
Yeah.
I thought that was a way for this defense to stay young, get better without mortgaging the money that we had to do it. Right. So we got a great play. We got a guy at a good price. The other thing is I do think in free agency, we went very need heavy. Right. So I like some of those things. Like, so it's okay with that. And I will say is that I'm giving the Darnold trade kind of the B side of a trade rather than the CD side, not because of who he is. That actually might average out this number lower,
But I did like the idea that the Carolina Panthers, despite having money invested in Teddy Bridgewater, having kind of staked their claim with Teddy Bridgewater, they made some sort of decisive move. Whether it's the right one or not, I don't know yet. And if it isn't, then this B will quickly go to a C or a D.
Yeah.
Because then the draft would have been terrible and all of that. So I'm saying B because we got enough done to make our team better, but the jury is still out on a lot of it.
Yeah, and I pretty much echo that sentiment. You know, before we move on, it's that time again. There are 41 people watching. There are 13 likes. CK, what do we do here, man?
Motherfucking subscriber shame.
Shame those people. Hit the thumbs up, damn it. We're here talking about football. There's nothing else Panther related going on, but we're here bullshitting with y'all because there's nothing we'd rather be doing. Hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, make sure you subscribe so that way you know every time we go live, you can come and check out what we're doing and hang out with the boys. Let's continue with go ahead.
This is the easiest question out of all of them. Finally, we got a question that like there is an answer to this.
Sure. Which former player will be the toughest to replace? Teddy Bridgewater, Curtis Samuel, Mike Davis, Russell Okung, Trey Boston, or Rasul Douglas. Now let's do it like this. On the count of 3, Tony and CK both say your answer, and I'll say it too on the count of 3. Let's see if we're all on the same page. 1, 2, 3.
Curtis Samuel.
What? Curtis Samuel? We drafted 2 wide receivers. What are you talking about? Curtis Samuel?
The hard part is to replace the production that Curtis Samuel had.
Dude.
Guys,
you finally saw Curtis Samuel be who you said he was. Y'all got up here and told me this man was going to be so fucking awesome for so long and this and that. And it took all that time for us to truly see it. You cannot be like, oh, Terrence Marshall's going to step in and be the next.
Who is playing free safety for us? Someone please tell me. Who is
Justin Burris?
Our starting free safety? I can argue that Terrace Marshall has a much higher ceiling than Curtis Samuel ever had.
Oh my God! You cannot. 100%. You got on this show. You got on this show and just went on and on about Curtis Samuel.
I can tell you
used to just chug and chug the Curtis Samuel. You know what? And now you're trying to be like, oh. Not that big of a deal.
No, because we didn't give Curtis Samuel the type of environment to develop him. One of the main criticisms about Curtis Samuel at Ohio State was they used him as a running back just as much as they did a receiver. Terrace Marshall is already a skilled route running receiver who lines up at all the different receiver positions.
This is your draft bias. This is your draft bias, bro. I promise you're draft bias. Who's going to have a better season this year? Curtis Samuel or Terrence Marshall Jr.? Who's going to have more?
But wait, can I make one more point?
Who's going to have a better season?
But can I make one more point that's relevant to the question?
No, because this is bullshit. This is bias.
Listen, even if you believe that Curtis Samuel is better than Terrace Marshall and Shi Smith, it means that we have 2 players that have the potential to replace him. We have no idea who
Shi Smith will not have more. I bet you Shi Smith will not have more than 20 receptions all season.
Here's the part that
you want to take it? You want to take the bet?
More than 20 receptions?
Yeah.
For sure I'll take that bet. Yeah, more than 20, for sure.
All right. So my question here, and the reason that I'm going with Kurtco is I do believe it's a little bit easier to replace production of a wide receiver, right? Trey Boston wasn't like a gangbuster safety for us last year. Like he a lot of times he was a liability in our secondary. So replacing him is as simple as signing a free agent
just
off
finding
the street.
Josh. Getting Josh from Mass to step in there.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I loved Trey Boston and the energy he brought to the team. It was very similar to like the energy you saw with, Thomas Davis, like always just super enthusiastic and everything like that. His skill level never matched what Thomas Davis did. Like at any point, like he was always, he could make some tackles, but he was caught as a liability in a lot of those games that we had, even on a defense that seemed to be going on an upswing last year.
But can't you make the argument, though, that it is potentially true that one of the receivers that we drafted will at least be a serviceable replacement for Curtis Samuel? Whereas what I'm saying to all of you who will listen right now is we have no depth at the safety position, and you can go to hell with Justin Burris or all these other assholes that are supposed to be like a meaningful.
Who cares about
none of
Hold
that
on.
is true.
Let me ask this. So if we're trying to figure out what
you should say Russell Okung then at this point.
No,
if that's your argument you're going to make, Cody, we should say Russell Okung.
Let me ask this. Do you think Teddy Bridgewater was a good player last year?
No, I don't.
Do you think Trey Boston was a good player last year?
I think he was better than what could have been the alternative.
But you didn't say he was a good player.
You could say that about Teddy Bridgewater then.
But yeah, exactly. You could use those same statistics. A lot of people are going to say that exact same thing. Do you think Rasul Douglas was a good player last year?
Yes.
You think he was a good cornerback?
Was it last year or was it the year before?
I think it was the year before.
Do you think that he was a good player, or do you think he was okay?
No, I'd say okay. Meh.
Okay.
Meh.
All right. A role player.
All these guys are meh.
Was Russell Okung a good player, or was he okay?
Meh.
Okay.
Meh.
Was
he
Mike
got too hurt?
This is going to be a harder one because it's easy to replace running backs, as we all agree on. Was Mike Davis a good player, or was he okay?
Yes,
good.
He's a good player.
It was okay.
He was good. Okay. Was Curtis Samuel a good player?
Curtis Samuel was a good player.
He is the only person on this list you can say without any hesitation that he was a good player on this team last year. That is going to be harder to replicate than any of what those other guys did.
But who was worse, Dante Jackson or Trey Boston? Like I could make the argument that
you can say Dante Jackson only because of availability. Because of availability for Dante Jackson.
This is not about that. Like that statement doesn't really pertain to the question. What the question is,
you can't even say Terrace Marshall Jr. might not even play right away. He's been dealing with his injuries.
He'll play. I'm sitting
he
here.
ain't in practice yet.
You'll see. I bet my ass that he is playing week 1 and has more than half the snaps.
Oh, I bet that too. By the way, somebody said that in the chat room, they said they bet that Shi Smith does better than Curtis Samuel's
my man
rookie year.
Zero.
Think about this. This was Curtis Samuel's rookie year. He had 26 targets, 15 catches for 115 yards, no touchdowns. His second year, though, he had a bunch of touchdowns, though.
I bet you.
He had 39 catches. His second year, he had 5 touchdowns on 39 catches. How awesome is that? He also had 2 rushing touchdowns, and I think he had he may have even had a special teams touchdown. I promise y'all, man, you ain't going to see no Shi Smith in the offense other than a gimmick play this year.
All right.
He's going to be special teams, man.
Listen to what my man, let me find it. The real Zero chill, man. Wide receiver is an easy transition to the NFL. All the types of routes that they're running in college, the defenders are better. But Terrace Marshall is advanced. He's an advanced route runner in the way that Curtis Samuel never was. And I would say that Shi Smith is even somewhat.
Him running straight.
Shi Smith is even comparable in a lot of ways to the kind of skill set that Curtis Samuel represented.
Right.
So
okay, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. I thought this was going to be an easy question. We turned out to get an argument. Let's go to the next one.
All right. Okay. Which of these offseason acquisitions will be the most valuable? Sam Darnold, Dan Arnold, David Moore, Hassan Reddick, Denzel Perriman, AJ Bouye, or Daquan Jones? Now, I'll let either one of you jump in first because I actually have something to say about this.
I think Dan Arnold.
You say Dan Arnold?
Yeah,
we never picked this. Since I was outvoted, I'll just put Curtis Samuel on this last one.
Yes, you better. For me, I mean, I think by default the answer has to be A because of. Well, I guess if it doesn't work, it would be the least valuable at that point. It's either Sam Darnold, or Hassan Reddick for me.
Okay, CK.
I think it's Dan Arnold. I think it's Dan Arnold. Just based on the type of offense that we would like to run, based on Joe Brady's history, I think that a tight end will be very helpful.
Interesting. All right, I didn't expect you to say that.
And we don't have any big body wide receivers really at this point. So,
I mean, listen, I echo the same sentiment as Tony. I mean, so much of this season depends on what kind of player Sam Darnold is going to end up being. That if it does pan out in any way that's good or better, then it's easily Sam Darnold. But what I do want to call your attention to right now is Daquan Jones, our 5th-round pick defensive tackle out of Iowa, because the rumor mill on Twitter is that the Panthers may have found them an absolute steal in the 5th round of the draft and might have found a vicious interior when you pair Derek Brown with Daquan Jones. Everyone's saying that Daquan Jones could potentially be one of our better draft picks. And I would not doubt it if somewhere very soon Daquan is not only a starter on our defensive line, but a very important part of our pass rush. So I wouldn't put him above Sam Darnold, obviously, but I do want everyone to start to remember that name because I have a feeling it's a name that we're all going to be saying a lot more.
So who we marking?
I think it's safe to say Hassan Reddick.
Even though no one said Hassan Reddick.
I said Hassan Reddick. I said it was either Reddick or Darnold.
That and I feel like chat is kind of it's a little bit mixed, but I feel like I see Nick and Craig, and then Sam
Reddick.
Oh, wait, hold on. Reddick, yeah. Correction. Darrell pointed this out to me. Davion Nixon is our draft pick.
Yeah, Daquan Jones is the one from Tennessee.
I got those two confused. My bad. But Davion Nixon, thanks you, Darrell, for correcting me because that's the guy I meant. And I really do think that this guy is going to be a real part of what we're going to be doing going forward for sure. So appreciate the correction. What do you expect? So what are we putting here? Hassan Reddick?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you expect out of J.C. Horn in year one? Lockdown corner, solid starter, chance to get experience, not ready for the NFL. I'm gonna call my shot. I'm saying lockdown, bro. I'm calling to the moon. He was my favorite corner in this year's draft. I told you that before we drafted him. I love his skill set. I love his ability. I think he's going to go down as an all-timer for Carolina. Tony, I would say you.
I mean, this is like either one of these is you just take super optimism route or you take more than likely he'll be a solid starter on his way to becoming a good player, right? A very good player. But I mean, stepping onto the field and having to deal with the likes of Mike Evans or whatever you got to deal with all the time. If there's anyone suited to excel at this point, it does seem to be him. So let's just stick with lockdown corner. I feel like, we're just going to kind of run down the same rabbit hole of, the odds are that it takes some time.
Yeah, you can look at the statistics or you can look at the fact that there is a value to have with there being an NFL pedigree, not just from him itself, but the fact that there is a family history of this. So
he practiced against a Hall of Fame wide receiver in his backyard growing up.
When you're talking about one of the more cerebral, that's one of those positions where you really have to be ready mentally to be able to go up against. And so to be raised in an environment to have a coach that was in the NFL that got you to where you are for your entire life, I think that can't go understated.
And one more thing.
Look, the next question.
But hold on, one more thing before we move on. The last thing I want to say about J.C. Horn, if you look at his sophomore film to his junior film, a lot of the things that he did wrong and got beaten on in his sophomore year, over that offseason, he made all the necessary corrections and took a huge step from his sophomore to his junior year. So not only does he have all the physical talent, but he shows the abilities to know when he needs to get better at his craft, and that's key in a young player. Now, this next question, I feel like we could all – well, okay, we're so different, dude. I feel like we could all have different answers, and all of us could be correct here.
No, there's only one answer for you, and that's every single one of these people.
Oh my God.
That is Cody's answer right here. Is every rookie is going to be the best rookie. They're going to be rookie of the year right away.
Hell yeah, dude. I believe it too. Which 2021 draft pick will make the biggest splash as a rookie? Terrace Marshall Jr., Chuba Hubbard, Shi Smith, Tommy Tremble, Brady Christensen, Davian Nixon, or Keith Taylor? I'll let you two go first, and I'll let the chat room kind of hash it out. I don't feel too strongly about this because I feel like there's a bunch of good answers here.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's hard to get this one wrong. But I think I'm going to go with the one that's probably a little less popular, and I think it's going to be Brady Christensen.
Ooh, okay. And I'm telling you what, if it ends up where he's the person that ends up being the one to make the splash, I'm not complaining. The
reason I say biggest splash is, like, I think J.C. Horn's still going to be a lockdown corner, but being as highly drafted as he is, that's not going to be that's expected. Like that's going to be an expectation almost, being where he was drafted. Whereas Brady Christensen coming in, kind of a lot of question marks. Nobody's really raving about him in camp or anything like that. I think if he comes out and he turns out to be even, a decent left tackle or somebody who's able to protect Sam Darnold and give him the time he needs to be able to excel as a quarterback, I think that's going to be the biggest splash on this team.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like that answer. Tony?
My choice is Davion Nixon.
Okay.
And I think if you look at Terrace Marshall Jr. first, I think you guys are – I hope he's all this in a bag of chips. But is he going to be a number one wideout in the NFL down the road? You guys are acting like it's a destiny for him. I don't know. We'll see. Chuba Hubbard is that be interesting, right? Is this guy actually has an opportunity to make an impact, right? Is that you have CMC, who the question is, how are they going to continue to utilize him? But if CMC were to have an injury or need anything, is that you could put him in and running backs, they know how, they can run, right? And they're usually better. You want to talk about one place where they actually transition quickly. Does seem like running back, as long as it's not pass protection. That's where they always say. Shi Smith, yeah. I don't really think he's going to have a chance of cracking the wide receiver core at this point. We'll see. I think it'll be a special teams. There's only so many people you can put out there. I'm sorry. And two 1,000-yard receivers out there that are going to get their due and they'll still be playing. Trimble, maybe. Christensen, sure. Possibility. What I like about the Nixon one, though, is it's not even just the player. It's the position group.
Yeah.
Brian Burns. Is that these groups, like we talk about the offensive line being interconnected, the talent on the defensive line really dictates how, assignments and so much. And, Derek Brown is such a force. We see, if you pair him with somebody like that interior pass rush, when you have so much speed on the outside with Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns, could really be a problem. And it could be an easy position to step into because you got everywhere you look around, you got some dogs beside you. And you just got to run with them. So that's why I'm picking Davion Nixon.
All right. Craig Carter says Tommy Tremble to be a beast. A lot of people think that as well. I'm going to make a controversial statement, but I don't care because I 100% believe it too. Terrace Marshall not only will he certainly be the reason why the Panthers don't re-sign Robbie Anderson next year, he might be the reason that the Panthers could potentially be okay with letting DJ Moore walk. I think Terrace Marshall Jr. has the potential to be a number one wide receiver in waiting. I really believe that. You heard me say it here first. I think that if you look at what Joe Burrow was able to do in Joe Brady's offense, and you put that Terrace Marshall was a huge part of Joe Brady's offense at LSU, I think that you're looking at a match made in heaven, and I think Terrace Marshall could have the kind of year that the Vikings receiver guy had, whose name escapes me right now. The guy that played really well
It starts with a J.
Justin Jefferson. Thank you, Justin Jefferson. Again, so I'm thinking Terrace Marshall might be it, man. I really do think that. So, but again, we all had different answers, so it's like.
I agree with Dre the Great. Stop it. All right. All right. Next question.
Remember where you heard it first. That's all I'm saying. Next question. If you could get a contract extension done, I think we all know this, with only one of these players before the season started, who would it be? Taylor Moton, or Taylor Moton. We all say Taylor Moton.
100% Taylor Moton.
Next question.
Christian McCaffrey was sidelined for 13 games last season with 3 injuries. How many will he miss in 2021?
None.
This is asking you to be a pessimist asshole. Like it's
none.
And
you know what? To be honest, is that I'm not even really convinced by the arguments that. So many Panther fans, you know, when someone comes up to you and then you're talking to them and they're like, oh, you're a Panthers fan. And then they're like, oh, and then they got to tell you, and that's fine. I mean, like, they'll say this, is that there's 2 types of fans. They'll come up and they'll be like, oh, man, Cam, he's just no good, you know, and then you're like, oh, God, do I really got to, you're like, yeah, whatever, you know. And then the other fan comes up and says this to me all the time. And they go, they're running Christian McCaffrey into the ground. He ain't going to be able to survive this. He can't survive this. And I don't know if I believe, I don't think that's a decided fact at this point, is that he actually has been very durable throughout his time in the NFL until last year, where he did have his first injury. But I'm not completely of the mindset that he didn't and the Panthers didn't shut him down.
I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe they 100%. I believe he could have come back midway through the season after. Like I think he hurt himself a little bit with that Kansas City game, and then no matter what, I don't think it was ever going to be on there.
Once they tweaked it a little bit, and he tried to come in, they were like, nope. So I just don't. I don't necessarily. I'm just not of the mindset to where I believe that Christian McCaffrey is A, fragile, or B, gotten to that mileage yet.
Like, I mean,
right?
Look at Saquon Barkley.
They might be able to run him into the ground, but I think that's 2-3 years out, though. I don't think it's 1 or 2
Saquon
years
Barkley's
out.
had
I think
maybe
it's 3 or 4.
Saquon Barkley's maybe had a fraction of the touches that Christian McCaffrey's had, and he's had way more problematic issues as a running back in this league. And so I think it's not a matter of how. I mean, obviously, there's going to be the more you touch the ball, the more likely you are to get hurt. And I don't believe that there's a durability aspect of it. I think there is you're more likely to have an ACL tear if you touch the ball 150 times, not because you're being run so many times, but just because statistically speaking, one of those hits is going to be on your knee, right? So I don't think I think there is going to be some durability issues after a longer career, but I think he's still early on enough where it's
I agree.
Well,
my answer is none.
My thing is this: you're never known for being an injury prone player until you are. Once upon a time, Cam Newton never got hurt until he started to get hurt. Once upon a time, Greg Olsen never got hurt until he started consistently getting hurt. Some people are like Thomas Davis, where you tear your ACL 3 years early in your career, and yet somehow magically just end up going on to play your best football. I think just being realistic, I don't think I can say none just based on how many times he missed last year. I think if we're able to incorporate Chuba Hubbard into our offense for a good number of snaps, I think it's possible that he could be none. But if we run Christian like we have in the past, where he's in 97% of our snaps on any given Sunday, then yeah, for sure he's going to have at least 1 to 2 injuries this year, and I can see him missing some time because of it. So I think that's a reasonable answer.
So was that 1 to 2 injuries or missed games?
No, missed games. So
okay.
Again,
okay.
just like an average.
Like I can't say everybody's going to get injured at some point. All right.
Okay.
Not including McCaffrey, who will be the Panthers MVP this season. Gotta be. I'm gonna say Brian Burns.
Oh, I like that answer.
I feel like he's ready to step into the limelight at this point. It's easier for Brian Burns to be the answer to this question than it is Sam Darnold, right? It's easier for DJ, and maybe I would say my coin flip between Burns and DJ Moore, but I'm gonna say Brian Burns. Go ahead, CK.
I think it's gonna be somebody else.
Someone else. Do you have a name?
I think that there's a lot of potential, but the one name that comes to mind is Hassan Reddick.
Oh, all right.
Or
cool.
Derek Brown. Derek Brown could come out.
Tony just stole my thunder, damn it. That's what I was going to say. I think Derek Brown has the potential to be that guy who, remember how once upon a time, like we didn't realize how important Star Lotulelei was until after we had him. I'm hoping that Derek Brown can be that fucking destroyer in the middle of our defense, that everything kind of flows around, even if he isn't getting like a ton of crazy numbers. I would love for Derek Brown to turn.
And he was kind of that last year as the season went on.
He flashed. He definitely flashed.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a good one. Who should Sam Darnold's backup be? Will Grier, PJ Walker, or someone not on the roster?
I think Will Grier.
What a depressing question, huh?
This is the worst question. Can we?
It's so bad.
I say PJ. So then you got to.
Fuck
it really should be someone not on the roster.
I'd say PJ. Just
all right. So you broke it. CK said Will Grier. All right. Left tackle's been a problem for. Who should start?
Oh, this is a good one too. This might be other than Sam Darnold and what he turns out to be. This is probably the next most like burning question in Panther fandom, isn't it?
I think it's going to be. I think the answer to this question is Trent Scott.
Okay, CK, what say you, man?
Brady Christensen. I got to stay on that train that talked about it earlier.
All right, now this might be very controversial. And I'm not saying that's what will happen.
If you say Greg Little, I'm going to punch you in your face.
Oh, shut up.
Greg Little.
If I say Greg Little, I'd get up and kick my own self in the face.
He said I'd punch myself in the face.
Yeah, come on, dude. No, I think, and it's who should start there. The answer might be Taylor Moton. And we might not want to hear that. That might not be the answer that we want to say starts at left tackle. But if he's the best on the team and he ends up having to be the protector of of Sam Darnold's blind side, fuck, if he's the best man for the job and none of the other guys can do it and they have a better chance of filling in right tackle than they do left tackle, then yeah, maybe that is what you should do. I don't know, but it makes sense to me saying it out loud.
All right, so who are we putting?
No, I mean, I'll have 2 different answers. It's like there is no one.
I know. We'll need the chat room to solve this for us. I want to say this: if we change this question to who will start, I believe it's Cam Irvin. Like, mark me down. He's going to be the one starting at left tackle.
I think that's probably a safe answer. Right. I don't like it, but it's probably not.
All right,
wrong.
let's go to the next one.
What best describes your confidence level in Joey Sly? Rock solid with a strong leg. Percentage of longer field goals will improve. Pretty good. Still should have kept Harrison Bunker, but can live at Sly. Shaky, can't seem to handle the pressure kicks. None at all. Scott Fidler needs to find his replacement ASAP. I'll go first. I'll keep it short and simple. I say shaky. I haven't seen enough to see that he's able to handle those big pressure moments when every single big pressure moment that he was in last year, Even though there would have been record long field goals,
Yeah.
I still think
you can't use
failed at all of them.
I do believe shaky, and the reason I say shaky has zero to do with that. Anytime your kicker is seeing a psychologist, fucking run, bro. Like,
I didn't even hear this.
Yeah, he's seeing a sports psychologist.
Okay, a lot of people do that though.
Yeah, but I mean, like that. As far as a kicker, like I know that that's meant to help him get better, but I'm sorry, but how many times has these the more he's thinking about it, the more problem. That's when when it's not just muscle memory. That's always been Joey Sly's issue is like, even in college, he's a big leg, but he's not able to be as accurate. I've been a Joey Sly fan for a while. Like, I've wanted him to be better, but last year proved he is not going to be. Like, he is not, like, in the big pressure moments.
Y'all are so down on him. Mine's pretty good.
I don't think it's unreasonable to have an unsure opinion of Joey Sly. It goes back to that prove it mentality. You can have hope for Matt Rule and Joe Brady and all these guys, but they still have to go out there and improve upon what they did last year. That same thing is 100% true for Joey Sly. There were too many easy kicks that he didn't make that should have been simple for him, but that he would make some of the bigger ones. And then when he had the opportunity to win games for us, he didn't do those things.
He had opportunities to win games and make a name for himself in those games.
Yeah.
He almost did, bro. He was 1 yard away from kicking. I mean, it was so close, dude. You would have all of a sudden, you guys would have been saying he's the greatest kicker in the history of the world. My answer's pretty good, but I understand you're shaky. It almost should be in between there of just okay.
But basically overrule a 2-3. This is the one that's like, who cares? In my opinion, like if you're concerned with who's probably the better, more ready of the two long snappers, you're saying JJ Jansen. If you're thinking about potential and salary cap dollars, then you're going Thomas Fletcher. To me, I couldn't really care less, to be honest.
I know. I'm going to say JJ because JJ is the oldest person on our team. He's the vet that can lead our special teams in your Super Bowl run. We needed one. He's the only guy. He's got the most years. Oh, I pulled it up. I wish you could see who has the most, like the second most years. Nobody. I never even heard of him.
Really?
Never even heard of him. Oh no, and then Daquan Jones is like third on that.
Wow.
But other than that, we ain't got nobody that's got more than like 6 years of experience. It's crazy. Like even the people that I thought that were like the vets on our team are still babies, man. I'm gonna put JJ Jansen because why the fuck did we draft Thomas Fletcher anyway?
Okay, it sounded like you felt a certain kind of way about this.
I was gonna say, I don't think JJ Jansen cares about this question. Like he's at a point in his career and he's such a laid back guy. I could see him being like, just release him. It's all good. Just release me. Right. It's cool. Give the young guy a shot. I do believe that the long snapping position is an important one to a degree, but it's so like the reason I would pick Fletcher is because of the value of the speed getting down the field is so important. Like those are big hits. JJ Jansen hasn't failed us up to this point, but he is getting older, so we have to start thinking about that. So I think that Fletcher needs to have an opportunity to come in and actually get the reps that he needs for that to actually, happen for him.
I should probably like JJ Jansen more than I do because something tells me that he's a huge pothead. I don't know what it is. Something tells me that JJ Jansen's been known to blaze up a time or two. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. We have 2 more questions left, and then we can get to these cat calls and get out of here. Which player is most likely to make his first Pro Bowl in 2021? And my God, I feel like there's 3 really good answers in this. It's Robbie Anderson, Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, DJ Moore, or Taylor Moton. I'll let any one of you jump in first.
Brian Burns, easy answer here for me.
I don't hate that.
Yeah,
answer.
I think there's two answers that are the strongest ones, and that is Brian Burns and DJ Moore. Taylor Moton again, you know what I mean, like is like depending he'll be up there too. He could be up there. It just depends. And if he does make the Pro Bowl, then talk about cha-ching for him. I think that Jeremy Chinn's a long shot because look, I hope he's awesome. I hope he's going to be the greatest player ever, but like it's almost hard to eclipse what he did in his rookie year.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Like, I mean,
and there's also a term called the sophomore slump. You know,
and then with Robbie Anderson, Jesus, I mean, Terrence Marshall Jr. is going to replace him in training camp, obviously, and he is going to no chance. So for me, it's Brian Burns.
Shut up, Kevin. No one's listening to you say Shaq Thompson. No, I'm just gonna go ahead and pick the easy answer. I actually think Jeremy Chinn could easily make a Pro Bowl.
I do agree as well, but
because it kind of seems to me like all indicators are pointing that Jeremy Chinn's our new Luke Kuechly, guys. That he's the guy that's on there, in his playbook, trying to be a leader both on and off the football field. But I think Brian Burns, I'll go with CK and use that as a tiebreaker because I think he has the potential to be a premier NFL edge rusher that you speak of when you talk about the likes of Von Miller and Khalil Mack and some of these better edge rushers. I think that year 3 is when you're really going to see him put it together. And then our final question, what position group are you most concerned about? You probably already know my answer, so I'll just let you all.
It's
Cody's saying safety, right? Because you're concerned about Trey Boston.
God. Oh, he's gonna say safe. Oh,
I think that right now our depth, when you look at even Deontay Brown and David Moore, who we picked up undrafted. I think that Matt Paradis and all these other guys that are mentioned, like, damn, if some of those guys can't turn out to be serviceable offensive linemen, like we really fucked it up if none of those guys can do anything. Whereas I maintain our safety position is barren. It's barren. We have no legitimate other than Jeremy Chinn, who again we're kind of moving from safety to linebacker. He's at that real hybrid kind of player. We have no idea what we have at the safety position, and we know that we're in the NFC South where everyone's trying to throw the football 50 yards down the field.
At least they were.
I mean, it's worrisome. Well, Jameis Winston doesn't really say that it's going to change for the Saints. I think Matt Ryan's still going to be aggressive. And then Tom Brady, of course. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm really worried about that safety position to the point where I hope that we make some kind of move to bring in a player before the start of the season, even if it's just another warm body. It doesn't have to be a world beater, but someone that can plug and play, and you know that they're not going to be a total liability out there.
Kevin's right. I mean, quarterback legitimately could be this, right? But we're all wishing that we're wishing into existence that it's not going to be a problem. That's going to be a great solution. But I think offensive line is my answer here.
Okay, CK, what say you, man?
This is hard because I kind of the biggest. I want to like the easy answer for me is the offensive line, but I agree with Cody. I think we have so many pieces that we brought in. Somebody is going to be able to make that step up. And then I think we have more depth on offensive line than we've had in a long time. Just based on what I've seen happen this offseason and in the draft.
Still don't have a left tackle though.
We don't know that for sure.
Yeah, well, you know what? We said that every year. We thought we didn't have one too.
Yeah, but I mean, again, at some point, you know, we've got to have that come back in our favor at some point.
I can't be mad at the pessimism Tony shows toward that position.
No, absolutely
just
not.
Because of the revolving door that it's been. It's like
since Jordan Gross left.
I mean,
Like it's one of those circumstances again where it's sort of like the quarterback, except for worse. Like we haven't seen an actual franchise left tackle that we're going to be able to keep in the building for 5 to 10 years with since Jordan Gross left. And that happened. That's been almost 10 years. So we've been in a even though we've had serviceable years, with in our 2015 year, and there's been other ones. Don't get me wrong. We haven't had all garbage, but we have not had somebody we can look at.
All garbage, homie. Like if Cam Newton wasn't there, that person would have been dead. You wouldn't know why it's so hurt all the time.
They do say that
injuries because you didn't give him any damn protection. But all right.
Do you think that there's any credence to the fact they say it's a lot harder to block for rushing quarterbacks?
Yeah. Well.
Yes, I mean it's legitimately yes, I do believe that, but I think if anything, maybe there's some to what to being too tall when your drop is so deep. I think like if there was anything that really, I don't think it was Cam's mobility that made him hard to block for. Maybe he would hold the ball too long, and then you're like asking the offensive line to block longer than they should. But for Cam, when he took a 5-step drop, it's like a 27 drop. Man, look. And Ron said this one time, and he was trying to defend Matt Khalil, and it was like, oh, they're trying to, you got to climb the pocket more, and they're trying to get to get to know each other's depth. So I think Cam's like that. For me, that was the harder thing. Is like he had trouble stepping up into the pocket because he's so big. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like he can only take one step forward, and he's already there. So I thought I'll give you that more than I'll say it's just difficult to block for a running quarterback.
Yeah, I only ask because like I know that is something that is said, and it's and it could be just to kind of feed into the stigma that people have against the dual threat quarterbacks. Like Cam, like Mike Vick, everybody kind of said that when offensive line hard to block for them. So let's blame it on the quarterback instead. But I just like I said, I don't think we've had I think we've had majority garbage, but I think it's hard for me to say that like we've had every year garbage, but we haven't had somebody's consistent that we are looking for that we don't have. We've had every year has been a question mark at left tackle, and that's what I have a problem with. Like it's exhausting.
Are you more concerned about offensive line or safety?
I'm not as concerned about safety like as others are. And my reason is I feel like, and call me crazy, right? But I feel like the safety is more, is something that can be filled in by a Trey Boston, right? By somebody,
by anybody. Yeah. Bro, you want to think it's been over 10 years since we had a franchise left tackle. It's been like 15 years since we had a franchise safety.
Mike safety isn't sexy, dude. Like
the Panthers don't care about the safety position, period.
Yeah,
they don't care about it at all. And
honestly, the safety is irrelevant if we get a good push.
Good, Cody. Like that's the thing is for me, it's like I understand that we don't have any real talent or names that we know. And I think Trey Boston's a player who can be pretty good on a team that has a lot of talent around him. So would he be the worst fit on this team? No. But it's not like oh my God, we lost Trey Boston, bro. Like,
do you think it was worth cutting him?
I mean, we do
I
this.
Thought he was pretty cheap too. I don't even know.
I thought so too. That's why I asked.
I don't know. I feel like we do this song and dance with Trey Boston every year. It's like, oh, is it serviceable or does it suck? Like. I don't know, man.
It depends on the week. It depends on if he makes the tackle or not. Actually, he tackled better last year than he's ever tackled. He's notoriously been a terrible tackler.
I know we're going to get the cat call, so all I'll do is say this. Right. I'm just worried about our depth, and I think I have a legitimate reason to be worried. And not only a pass-happy NFL, but a pass-happy NFC South. And I think it's a legitimate concern.
All right, you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. Go ahead and smash the thumbs up button. Call into the show at 252-228-5098. Don't forget that the cat calls are powered by Avolta. You want to quit renting your energy, own your energy, achieve energy independence with no money down. If you're a homeowner, in North or South Carolina, call Kevin Brown Solar Consultant with Avolta 704-215-3373. Quit renting your energy, achieve energy independence, add equity, all of that jazz. Fixed rate for life. Avolta, Kevin Brown, Panthers fans say, hey, Kevin, heard about it on the C3 Panthers podcast. He'll give you a special deal because he's a Panthers fan. All right, let's go ahead and jump into these calls.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Hey, Panthers podcast, my brothers, how y'all doing? G. Cavassier.
What up,
Hey,
G?
I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready for the season to start.
I know.
Hey, y'all probably seen it with what's that dude's name? I forgot his damn name. He was a linebacker for the damn Patriots. Willie McGinnis, that's his name. He was saying that, Carolina got a defense. When you look at our damn defense, our defense this year looks kind of stout.
I agree.
But with me saying that, I ain't trying to be the burden of bad news, but 2019 defense looked good as hell. Y'all remember that shit?
I do.
Over, man. We had Bruce Irvin. We had Shaq right there. We had a good defense. We couldn't stop the run to save our damn lives, man. But I believe with Phil Snow, even though I really don't like him, tell you the truth, as a defensive coordinator, hopefully he can get defense that's similar to McDermott. I know. It's been years since we've seen that, but I think our defense is going to be okay. My question is, before I go, is Hassan Reddick going to play outside linebacker, or is he going to play defensive end? And if he plays outside linebacker, is he taking Jermaine Carter's spot? What y'all think about that? Keep it.
I say defensive end. I think he's brought in as a defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, do we really have an indication either way of what kind of defense that we're gonna run? Because what I was saying last year, and I know you guys probably remember this, is we were kind of handicapped in our defensive scheme as to what we could do as opposed to what we wanted to do, right? A lot of people complained about that 3-3-5 college-style defense that we ran, and I was always saying that we basically just did because we really didn't have a lot of better options.
Right.
So I think that Hassan Reddick does kind of give us the position versatility, which, again, we know Matt Rule covets in players. I think that Hassan Reddick, is someone who's probably going to be doing a little bit of both. But I think they probably envision him more as a 3-4 outside linebacker whose primary job is to pass rush on third down and second and long in situations.
Isn't that where he struggled in Arizona, though? The 2 years before was in a 3-4, and then when they went to the 4-3, he has 12 sacks.
So you know how everyone's now like Joey the Blind Panther is talking shit about Isaiah Simmons in the chat and how he didn't pan out or that Isaiah didn't live up to the hype. Well, you could kind of say that Hassan Reddick was the original Isaiah Simmons and that he was drafted high, but they didn't really know how they wanted to use him. They didn't know if they wanted to make him an off-the-ball outside linebacker or an inside linebacker, or if they wanted to have him on the edge. They kind of didn't really know where to use him. And the final 2 years, he turned it on and really kind of, lived up somewhat to the potential. So I really, it's hard to say. I think his best football has been played when he's able to pin his ears back and be aggressive and get after the quarterback and try and sniff out those bubble screens and those, fake plays, the jet sweeps that NFL offenses are trying to do so much of now. So I think he's in a good position to do exactly that here in Carolina. And I think him and Brian Burns has the potential to be a vicious 1-2 punch on our defensive line.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to add to that saying, I think that Brian Burns has his career year that is going to put him in the Pro Bowl. because he's going to have a compliment on the edge there in Hassan Reddick.
I agree.
Could you imagine if Derek Brown pans out at the same time that those guys do?
Or the guy that played pretty well from Penn State last year. What was it? What's his name?
Yeah, Detroit Matos. That's another name
Yeah,
that we kind of
you got
forgot
that.
all about.
Like, I think we're just gonna have some horses now, and I don't. That's why I think Hassan Reddick's gonna be edge. I think it's gonna be like run him at edge on this play, and then maybe put him standing up at outside linebacker, but he's still rushing. And then you have YGM on the edge, right? I think that you're going to see, and he does like to, he's like a stand-up defensive end is what I would call him, Hassan Reddick. But we'll see, man. I think we're going to have so much speed with those guys on the field. It's going to be cool to see. I'm hoping for defensive end. Good question, though, for the first cat call. All right, let's go to the next call.
Hey, Tony. Hey, guys.
What's up,
Chuck calling from Elizabeth City.
What's up, Chuck?
I know it's a slow week, and beginning to watch the beginning of your podcast, and things are coming to a screeching halt. But there is one thing I noticed in the news that's kind of indirectly related with the Panthers, and I guess in 2022 they're talking about letting teams go back to throwback helmets. I know before it was not political, but a public safety issue. If you had all these players and you had more than one helmet, and I don't see what the problem is, but it was something they brought up and addressed, but now they're saying it's okay. I know Tampa Bay will probably go back and use the old Buccaneer Bruce, the kind of guy looks like Tom Brady on the helmet. And the Patriots will probably use Pat the Patriot where he's getting humped over while he hikes the ball.
Which is a dope logo.
God forbid Cincinnati Bengals use that hideous Bengals wagging on their old helmet.
Yeah.
But we really can't do that because we've had two helmets and they both almost look identical.
Yeah, it's hard to tell them apart.
A lot of people think that we should go to a black helmet, which wouldn't be a throwback, but it is something to think about. But I'm one to raise my hand and say, I don't think the Carolina Panthers need to change their colors, their uniforms, the logo, the silver helmet.
All right, Jerry Richardson.
Perfectly okay with what we got. I love the all-white uniforms. It reminds me of Steve Smith with those blue socks. Let's not change anything. Let's keep the tradition rolling. 30 years or more of this, and that's longevity. That looks good on a franchise.
So I can't disagree more. Chuck, thanks for the call. We love you, brother. Good part of the show. Always been a great caller. I can't disagree more. Is that, first of all, why has the NFL not done this sooner? The fact that we got to wait till 2022 is fucking ridiculous as it is. Right? We got to wait a whole year. Like, this is exciting news, and then you realize, wait a second, we got a whole 18 months before we get to see anybody wearing a different helmet. And because it's ridiculous, it's bogus that they can't have more than one color helmet because of player safety. Like, they don't have enough people to inspect, or like they don't manufacture the helmets the same. Like, gosh, we need an alternate helmet. Why is the NFL so? This shows you the behemoth and how much money the NFL can make. They can do stuff like this. They can be like 12 years behind everybody and still make a bunch of money off of everything. Panthers, black on black on black. Dope as fuck. The problem is we always lose in those black damn jerseys if it black on black. But if we had a black helmet, we had a black helmet. Or what if we had like the turquoise that or the Carolina blue helmet with some black? Like, that would be fly too.
I mean,
I want alternate helmets. We can't have a throwback. You're right about that, Chuck. No throwback for the Panthers. It's about trend setting.
Well, maybe it could do our old logo, which I don't even know why you.
No, it's the same. It's just like it's like facing the different way. Just like the eyes are different. Like it's like it just looks like it was drawn in the 90s versus the newer one is sleeker and cooler and stuff like that. But ultimately,
I've been saying for a while that we need to change our uniforms, and that's not saying that there's something wrong with them. And people get all upset and offended, like, oh, ours are perfect. We don't need to update them. That's how you become a classic uniform. And yeah, there's some degree of truth to that too. But I think there's also a point when you have to understand that your look isn't necessarily considered iconic and it can be upgraded. And teams have done this. The Denver Broncos have done this a number of times. The Seahawks have done it. Like teams, the Dallas Cowboys, and nobody wants to be the Cowboys, especially now. Maybe when they were winning 5 Super Bowls, but like, you know, teams update and upgrade their look. And I think,
And can you be iconic in this day and age? I don't even know if that's like a thing. It's possible anymore. There's so many photos out there, this and that. It's not like we can just all of a sudden become the Jerry West or isn't that who is the NBA logo or whatever?
yeah,
Like
but even still, like a lot of the ones that are considered classic, like you're talking about the Raiders,
because they're from an
Packers,
age before, like where you listen to it on the radio and you
right.
like didn't know anybody that owned a jersey. Now we buy
Right.
jerseys every year.
100%. That's why to me, it's like, you know, I'm all for the only reservation I have about the all black is that so
We're not
many
good.
teams now, dude, how about this? We would be the 3rd team in our own division that has like well, minus the Saints because their helmet's gold, but there are 3 teams that have black as a primary color. And if we were to go all black, we would, like the Jaguars have all black, the Ravens
I feel
have
like
an all
our
black.
blue pops better. Like I feel like our color scheme with the black, the silver, and our
agree.
Carolina blue pops better than like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I
Turk,
agree.
whatever that color is, like the color of the ocean or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I get that, but I feel like we have, or we could do like a chrome helmet or something, like something that's silver, you know. I don't know. I love all of these mock helmets that they draw up. Like I'm like, man, let's put it on them. So
go to the next one, and I'll bring up one that I have on my computer that I like a lot.
All right, next call.
Yeah.
Yo, C3 Nation, Panther Nation. It's your boy Josh from Mass.
What up, Josh?
But it's been,
what up, Josh?
We in the slow drippings of the off season, man. We're just watching that turkey slowly cook as it spins and spins in that Showtime rotisserie, brought to you by Ronco. And we just watching the juices drip, and we waiting with anticipation for September, and maybe even some of August. You know what I mean? You know, preseason might be a little bit telling this year. Might be some things worth seeing. But yeah, man, I so much anticipation for this season. I can't wait to see how our defense shakes out. I really think, you know, I'm in agreement with Brian Burns and what a lot of the analysts are saying. I think this defense is at a point where this can be like not just a very foundational year in terms of getting, you know, having really all the pieces that you need to be a successful defensive unit, but getting them together, getting them to work together, and getting them to truly be dominant, man. I mean, if what we saw at the end of last season was any indication as far as, you know, this defense rounded into shape, man, it could be scary. And I mean, it could very well turn into, I mean, call me crazy. I don't see why we can't be a wild card playoff team this coming year. Unfortunately, with Tampa in the division and their whole deal, we probably ain't winning the division this year, but I think we're going to thump the Falcons. I think we'll split with the Saints and the Bucks. Man, I don't know if we'll even pull one, but I mean, I'd love to. I mean, I'd love nothing more than to watch Week 18 with Brian Burns to just rip Tom Brady's legs off and beat him with them. Man, that'd be so great. That'd be so great. I mean, as far as the offense goes, man, that's the big question mark to me is the offense. It's you know, what's going to become of Sam Darnold? Is this line going to do anything resembling shaping up, rounding into piece, or is it going to just be, you know, the tale of a lost season for an offense with so many playmakers, but a quarterback who's so-so and a line that's so-so?
Let me know what you guys think. I'm out of time. Josh from Mass. Out.
See that helmet? I like. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I see. Imagine
Matte black.
this is the combo that I was talking about. I like the updated numbers, how the numbers kind of look like how the letters of our Panthers look.
Yeah.
I like the more sleek color lines on the sides and under the armpits. I think that's just a better design. I love the numbers. And then tell me that helmet isn't the sexiest thing you've ever seen, dude. If the Panthers could have that helmet and have a combination of these two, dude, that's the ultimate Panthers combo. Like I would love nothing more than to have that combo right there. I think we're in need of it, I would even say. But again, what do I know?
All right, back to Josh's call though. I think he's kind of spot on with a lot of things. Is that first? It's the doldrums of news time, and we went through all these questions and talking about it. But the defense, I believe, a lot of people saw enough life in it towards the end where it got better and better each week. And Jeremy Chin looked like he could be a superstar in the making. Brian Burns just continued to impress. And Phil Snow even got better. I think that we have the expectation that the defense could be very good this year, right? And if they're not very good, it's going to be somewhat disappointing. The offense, again, I think Josh is right on. It's just a big, giant question mark. Is that there seems to be a lot of pieces there, but at the same time, it could not work at all. So it just coming back to the quarterback question, I think that's going to be it. All right, last call of the night.
What's up, C3? This is Diesel Drew. I just want to say,
Diesel Drew, what's up?
Panthers might be one of the most underrated defenses coming into this year. I think we're definitely top 15, maybe breaking into that top 10 category under the radar. And I want to say that shout out to Rashad and Dave on TNP. I think they brought up one of the most interesting points post-draft offseason this week. Chris Sims posted Sam Darnold as being a top 20, I think 19th overall out of 40 rated quarterbacks going into this season. So my big question is, if Sam Darnold is coming in somewhere around 19th overall, is that good enough for the Panthers to make the playoffs?
Yes.
I'll leave it at that.
Man, no and maybe. I mean, is that like that's like Teddy Bridgewater. 23 was, 20. What was I mean, I feel like, you have to be better. I think he's going to have to be top 15 quarter. Doesn't every quarterback that makes the playoff have to be top 15 kind of?
The problem is like it's like you can sit there and say it's all subjective to like he could be a top 10, but because the team doesn't do well, they're not going to put him in that top 10 category, right? Or he could be a bottom 5, but because the team did really well, like it's going to make it look like he's that much, like he's a better quarterback. So
but the answer is yes, then, because Deshaun Watson was a top 5 quarterback or top 18 quarterback, and they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
true.
So the inverse should be true as well.
Yeah, I think it is possible for us to make the playoffs with a 19th ranked, quarterback, especially given the talent that we've put around him. And, a lot of times these quarterbacks are ranked the way they are because they're, really not filled with a lot of hope. Now you can also put in the Jameis Winston into that category and say, well, he was given every opportunity with as much talent as he possibly could get on that Tampa Bay team. And the moment that he leaves, they win a Super Bowl. So I think it's possible. We've seen things happen. We've seen it happen. We've seen people who, Nick Foles was a backup and he came in and won a Super Bowl, right? I mean, it's all going to be dependent upon the team and the way that the game is coached and whatnot. So I think it's still possible to win, get to the playoffs with a 19th ranked quarterback.
All right, those are the cat calls. Be a part of the show every Tuesday night live, 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Periscope. Go ahead and smash the thumbs up button. Be a part of the chat. Subscribe. Tell a friend about it. I know it's the doldrums, but we got to keep growing this podcast and Panther Nation together. You can do that by being a part of the show at 252-228-5098. Before we go and get to the Ice Up picks, I do want to just run down this list because I went and looked at these videos of us, or the C3 Panthers podcast, the evolution of it. But I'm going to go last year because I was like, man, what the hell are we going to talk about? You know what I mean? Is that, thank God we don't have any injuries to talk about or rest to talk about. This is a good moment for that. Last year, at this time, we were talking about the newly releasing HBO Max. That was one of the subjects of our show in the last week of June. Is that also a storyline in that was Funchess opting out because of COVID, and Michael Pilardi was waived because of injury. In 2019, we were on Shindig.
Ooh.
The greatest thing that could have been that never was.
Yeah.
That ultimately, it's cooler than StreamYard.
At the time, man, we were loving some Shindig, man.
We were excited about it.
It was too many technical difficulties,
too many bugs. But imagine if they could have made it to COVID and gotten some real loot.
Dude,
they could have been like the Zoom or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's almost like they just didn't have enough foresight just to stick it through. They never updated enough. They never got back with us enough on any feedback.
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know how to get in the login. I couldn't even reset my password. All right. Also, last year at this
was
time,
I on the squad in the 19th on the 2019?
Yes. I think you were in one of these. You were in your car. I think that was last in 2019. You were in your car, maybe on your way home from work.
Yeah, probably. Where I was sitting in the McDonald's parking lot using their Wi-Fi.
Also in 2019, a fun story that we talked about was Cam offered $1,000 to someone to switch seats on a flight home back from Paris, and the person said no. And we talked about whether or not he offered enough. He started at $850. It was a trip on the way home from a fashion show in Paris. 2018. The first time or the earliest June that I've seen Cody Lashley on the show. Tony, Joe, Mel, and Cody talked about zero news. And there was nothing to talk about except for we were like, one of the things that we made a point my point was thank God there's nothing to talk about, because this past year we had to talk about the sale of our team.
Yeah,
the return of an old GM, like everything we have talked about has been awful. So let's not talk about anything. But here, let me see if I got this. I want to see. Maybe you guys can. Let me see. Can you hear this?
Not hearing anything yet.
Oh. Okay, right. Because I turned off the audio on this one. Hold on.
They did sign his 5th-year option. Now, of course, they could always cut him. But they did pick that up.
He definitely has something left to prove, man. And it's funny that you always hear him talking about Cam Newton and how he's in his 7th or 8th year and he's so immature. And after the video of him shouting at the kids and everything, but I mean, maybe I'm just not listening to the right sources. But I feel like even still, Jameis doesn't get the time.
All right. So basically, one of the things is the same conversation we're still having. I wanted to ask this. That was a young Cody Lashley early debut on the C3 Panthers podcast, full-time member. And what was that the time he was yelling at the kids at the 7-on-7? Was it been that long? Was it 2018? Really? It feels like that was like last year.
No, that happened last year as well.
No.
Again. So what was the yelling at the kids? I wonder what that was. I was trying to remember it.
So there was the instance when Cam Newton was like screaming at the the kid that was clowning him on the sidelines.
That was this year. That's with him.
Yeah, but that was this past year. So then, yeah, what were we talking about?
I don't know.
What were we talking about then?
It was interesting.
Yeah, that's funny. I do feel kind of better though that now, like we know at the end of June, no matter what, when we're doing a podcast around this time, we're struggling to find shit to talk about, like no matter what.
But somehow we still go 2 hours.
Yeah, 2017 was Cam and rehabbing the shoulder injury.
Yeah.
Second clean out, I think. Buddy Ryan, Hall of Fame defensive coordinator for the 1985 Bears, passed away, and we talked about his relationship with Ron Rivera. 2016, we were talking about Kuechly, the coach on the field, and how he made that defense of 2015 much better than it probably was. Or, you know what I mean? Like he was instrumental. 2015, this is funny. The sign, I used to keep a sign like Woody Page did on Around the Horn, where I would just write something on it and just have it in the background as like my background. And my sign said Benjamin's Donuts. And that was before he was injured. We were talking about the potential of a Funchess Benjamin tandem, and then Benjamin ended up being injured in preseason. Also, fun fact, a guy who works for the NFL Network by the name of Matt Harmon was our guest on that show, and he used to do this thing called the receiver, but like it had a little, and he was just an early analytics guy. All right, but that's what I went and did. That's the show. We got to ice some fools up and then get the hell out of here. My ice up pick, I'm going to go ahead and just move this along. I don't really have a lot of great ones. The ones I have, I can't say on the air in case my mom is watching. I did have one about, so I got an Oculus. Like,
I know what you were gonna say. Maybe I do.
Oh, did you get into that? Did you get into that? That real that
virtual reality, baby.
But I bought one used. My boys, he had it, and my kids. Like, it's cool. It's cool stuff. It's just way more bizarre. It's better than you would think it is. Like everything on the Oculus. I put it, I was like, oh, we're gonna look at some 3D, we're gonna play this game, and you're like, oh shit, this is crazy. We played a Walking Dead game.
Yep.
Pretty cool. But my ice up pick is the Montreal Canadiens, who got their ass waxed in the first game of the Stanley Cup playoffs by Tampa Bay. And it's kind of, I'm sad that I'm icing y'all up, but you probably don't got what it takes to beat Tampa Bay, man. Tampa Bay just the reigning NHL Stanley Cup champs, look like it's going to be easy work for them. So Montreal, I hate Tampa. So ice up, get it together, and get it together on the ice. All right, who's next?
You go, Cody.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and share this because I actually saved this 2 weeks ago, but I had forgotten about it, and I was just now remembering it. So a few weeks ago, HBO had this thing happen where HBO Max, well, I'll just read their tweet. They put, we mistakenly sent out an empty test email to a portion of our HBO Max mailing list this evening. We apologize for the inconvenience. And as the jokes pile in, yes, it was the intern. No, really. And we're helping them through it. So it was like a common thing on Twitter that like everyone's trying to reassure this intern that made this big fuck up that, hey, it's okay, people fuck up. And one of them is the reply to that tweet. And it's this woman named Cassie, and I just thought that this was hilarious. She put, "Dear intern, I was using my desktop calendar to make a monthly note of when I started my menstrual period. But after several months, I realized I was making that note on a calendar I shared with all of my colleagues company-wide. I was 37 years old. And I've read that. I'm like, oh my God, what kind of a dumbass did you have to feel like upon reading that you've been letting your entire set of colleagues know when you start your period? Like, oh, dude, that has to feel so terrible.
I'm calling out of work today, Cassie.
Yeah, right.
It's the week before that's the worst. If you have a wife, you know this. It's the week before for me, and it's the build up, and you're like,
there's a oh shit. Cassie's gonna be on the rag. You know, today's gonna be fucking hell.
no team building workshop this week.
I just thought that was I thought that was funny. I thought that was worth sharing. And
I wonder what the email was. I hope somebody told us. Like, what the hell did they say?
Well, like what do you mean the HBO one?
Yeah,
it was
just like can you believe we're raking these guys over the coals for
it was like something about like a promotion and to see if they were signed up for it. But it turned out to just be bullshit that like nobody was actually even paying attention to. But I don't know. I thought that was funny. I thought it was worthy of an ice up pick. So ice up to Cassie, although she was trying to make someone feel better. So I guess I can't ice her up too hard. But yeah, that was funny.
Shout out to Diesel Drew, left his first message on the Cat Calls line, 252-228-5098. You better be one of many. And homie, if you are new to the show, I feel like I've seen your name around before, but wait until this season gets popping, that post game gets come on. You think that this show's long? It's going to go on and on and on. The last call served. All right, CK, you got ice up?
And I did, but I completely forgot it. Like I was had it ready, and I remember I was like the entire time I'm like, I better not forget this when it comes to it. But
why don't you put it on your menstrual calendar?
That's what I need. I need to write them down, I guess, because like I always like when I do have one, I always forget it.
So what I started doing forever ago, when I find something that I think is worthy of an ice up, I have a little favorites folder. And I just added to that ice up folder.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
I've been, my thing with the ice ups is I've been staying away from like society a lot. Like I haven't been looking too far into news. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna ice up. Oh, this is here. I'm gonna give you your ice up pick. This is my honorary one. To the people who knew about the $9 million in repairs that need to be done to that building.
Oh my God.
In Miami for the last 3 years since 2018. Have you seen the video of that building collapsing?
I haven't seen the video. Yeah. I saw the aftermath.
Dude, you have to go watch the video. Well, I mean, you don't have to. It's fucking crazy, dude. Like the whole middle of this building comes down and then the right side in just like 5 seconds. They said people inside could hear it pinging, cracking.
My mom is convinced it was a controlled demolition. Well, and that's the thing. Is like I don't like, dude, especially in today's world. What am I supposed to say? No, it wasn't. Dude, I don't know shit about
how can you say it is though? I mean, you can't say that. I do hear is that there was needed repairs. They knew about $9 million worth of repairs from going back to 2018. I heard some people have said that it's got to do. It's like shedding light on the larger problems facing
in the United States as a whole.
In the like these coastal cities, ultimately Miami being like the foundation. They said the foundation was salt too. Somebody said this. Again, I haven't read a lot about it, this or that. Yeah. You know, for all I know, it could be a controlled demolition. But either way, what if you did that, then it was a terrorist act. Because there were like 90, there's like hundreds of people. There's like 100 people. People were living in the fucking building, dude. Yeah. Like they were living in it.
I don't necessarily think that it was a controlled demolition. Like, I mean, I get why people, want to, believe those things because, I mean, obviously when you look at it, yeah, I mean, those things don't happen every day.
Right now,
right? Those things don't happen every day. But I mean, the part that I think is the bigger, like you said, even beyond that, is the way that our like how many times is this? I know this isn't something that happens all the time, but like this exact scenario happened in London, where that one apartment building fell down, like it just completely collapsed, and it was because of somebody else, they had an engineer go in there and they gave them these warnings that the structure wasn't strong enough, and nobody did anything about it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's becoming like, I mean, listen, our infrastructure as the entire country right now, there's a reason that our infrastructure is falling apart. Like, it's because we don't invest in it. And it's because a lot of the people that are investing in it, like, you know, Korea or something like that, obviously they have their own problems. But I mean, we really need to focus on the infrastructure of this country, man. It's just going to fall apart. Like,
might be a wake up to
landlords.
Yeah.
Florida is notorious for sinkholes.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people thought it was at first, because the type of stone that is like prevalent limestone, it's super corrosive to water. Like if water you can put some of it under a hose and you can watch the stone just melt away. And like that's literally what Florida is built on top of. Like they have crazy sinkholes.
Well, and we tap into our water, you know, groundwater a lot. And like Italy's been having this issue in one of their towns where like their entire city is sinking. Like it's like going, like it's insane because they're using the water.
Yeah, I think it was also built on the water, like it's like a floating city.
Oh no, I'm talking about one that like they're utilizing the water that is supplying their city is directly underneath them. Like, and it's groundwater.
It all out, and now
they're pumped. It's just sinking. Yeah, and so like every year it sinks like 6 inches.
Crazy. All right, that's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Every Tuesday night, check us out. Smash the thumbs up button. Be a part of the show. Follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Where can they check you out, Cody?
Yeah, you can find me at Cody Lack at gmail.com. I mean, no. By the way,
and if you want to email them, you can do that too.
And you know what? That actually is my email, but I almost never check it for anything other than like really this podcast and draft tech stuff. So even if you wanted to message me there, I probably wouldn't respond to you. But on Twitter, Cody Lack, CODYLAC. My social is 22. No, I'm just playing. No, won't do that. And you can find all this stuff on Draft Tech. And that's every Wednesday. So
sweet.
All right.
That's me.
CK, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, you can find me everywhere, really. And it's Codizzle Allen pretty much everywhere. So just go look me up. I do stuff.
He streams stuff. He makes videos and stuff. Now he's becoming a movie producer and stuff. All right, man. Thanks, guys, for your help tonight. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Until then, keep pounding.
Pounding.
Oh, yeah.